Divi is done installing. I'm going to click activate. Now we're going to go plug in our API key. I'm going to go down to Divi here. And again, what the API key does, it allows our theme to update, and it allows us to actually choose out of the library different looks and everything. Over here, go to updates and put in the username, paste in the API key. Sweet, we're in. All right. So now I'm going to go back over to, well, I can refresh the live site here. And there's Divi. Very exciting. All right. And now, oh, there's a new version available already. That doesn't seem fair. Let's go ahead and update that. Why not? While that's updating, should probably just wait, but who cares? I'm going to go in and delete these other themes because they also will constantly want updating and things. And I'm just going to get rid of the themes that I don't need, which is what I always do when I'm sitting here working in Divi. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the general settings. So I did go through this, posts, the initial media that comes. There's probably nothing in here yet. You know, this is where all your graphics and everything will be found. Went through pages. We'll go into that again in a minute. We'll set up our home page. So by default, it starts with a sample page and a privacy policy. Projects, that may get added as soon as Divi gets added because Divi has an actual kind of portfolio module built into it that you could add individual projects to. That's actually probably what that is. The reading tab, okay, this is the one that's really important to set up initially, that most of you, if not all of you, are not just going to have like a blog style thing on your homepage. So this hello world is the blog post. That's not even the sample page that shows up. And then it's got these bloggy things in the footer, archives, categories, meta, stuff like this, the sidebar. So instead of having it the latest post, I'm going to tell it to be a static page, and I'm going to tell the home page to be sample page. You don't have to worry about giving it a post page ever because you can actually create blog like blocks inside of Divi, which is really, really cool. So you can put the blog role really anywhere you want in your site. It is very important to make sure that while you're working on a site that you check this box, discourage search engines from indexing this site, okay? Because we want to wait until our site is finished before we want to put it out there. And you know, until we've got certain things set up, there are things we could be penalized by, and you want to make sure that you don't have the search engines out there willy-nilly checking stuff out until you are ready to show it off. I'm going to refresh this, and now we can see that, okay, it is the samples page now. Great. Another major thing to set up right away would be the menu. You'll see like this one, for example, has home and sample page and the word uncategorized. A lot of you will have the word uncategorized, and that's just because by default, there's not really a menu set up, and it just kind of shows you various things like all the pages you create and all the blog categories. And what we want to do is set up our actual menus by going to Appearance and Menus. And you can see that by default, there is no menu here. And it says create your first menu below. So we give the menu a name and we will create it. And we will tell it where we want it to show up. Okay, so we're going to start just by creating a main menu. We'll call it main menu, right? And on the main menu, I always like to check the automatically add new top level pages to this menu. So on my main one, whenever I create a new page without me having to go do it manually, I want it to just automatically add that new page to that menu for me. Then we have the location. Now each theme will have different menu locations you can choose from to attach your menu to. We're just going to choose the primary menu, and this is what's going to be the main one at the top right away. And then it's also going to be what shows up in the hamburger menu when you get to mobile. That's the primary menu. I'll show you the locations of the secondary menu. Then the footer menu may be obvious, but for now, we're just going to set up the main menu in the primary location. And I'm going to hit Create Menu. So right now we have nothing in our menu, and you can add menu items from the left over here. So right now it will show you a list of all of your pages that you have. Right now we only have a single page, sample page. So I'm going to click that and I'm going to add it to the menu. And now I'll save the menu. And now I believe if we refresh our page, it's going to show us just that link. There we go. Okay, so now we have a single link in our menu called sample page because we've actually created a menu and started adding things to it. All right, now let's say I don't want this to be called sample page. Maybe I want this to be called home because ultimately this is going to be my home page. Now, without having to go, let's see, can I change it here? Yeah. I could go over into pages and change the name of it here. And I believe that would actually change the menu link. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. I think it would. But you can just change the menu links independently as well. So I can open this little thing up and I can change this to be called home. Save menu. I go look at it. Now I have a home link over here. Very nice. So now, because I've set it to automatically add new top-level pages, let's go add a Divi loaded page. So let's go into pages. And we've got our privacy policy, which is still a draft. That's usually attached in the footer or something. Maybe we'll do that in a moment. But let's go ahead and add a new page. And, well, actually, before I add a page, I'm going to go back out of there. Let's rename this one. Now, I want to explain quick edit. When you click edit, that takes you into the whole thing where you want to use Divi, welcome, this and that, you know, the whole regular editing page area. But from this little list, you can click quick edit, and without editing the content on the page, that will let you edit some of the page metadata. So instead of sample page, I'm just going to call this home, and then the slug, that refers to the URL after the domain name. All right, so right now, when your website is at interactiveguru.com/kcad/when, and then slash whatever the slug would be how you get to this page. So we don't want it to say /sample page. We want it to just say home. And you could also set it to be published or a draft or pending review if you're working with a bunch of people on the same site. Go ahead and hit update. Sweet. Shouldn't have changed anything here. Still got home in our menu bar. Cool. All right, now let's go and I'm going to add a new page. And yes, I do not want to use the default editor, but you know what? I'll click it for a second just to show you again. The default editor, I can add a title and I can start just typing away, or it says I can choose a block with this little plus, and it's really kind of like oh look, Divi layout is one of the blocks. That's funny. Let's browse them all. It's kind of Divi light. These are all just little elements of HTML that you can add in here, but it's not nearly as powerful. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there, and there's a lot you can do, but like setting up the columns and kind of the whole visual way that you can work with Divi on the site, you don't have any of that with the defaults. In fact, as of only about a year ago, maybe a year and a half, WordPress didn't have any of this fancy block stuff. This is something they kind of inherited from these page builders into their default system. So, but I'm just going to click the use Divi instead. It's really one or the other. Edit with the Divi builder. Sure, we'll leave that page. Oh, so we're going to enable the visual builder. All right, and like I showed you before, cloning a page, whatever, you can either build from scratch, choose a pre-made layout. Let's go ahead and build from scratch for now. Well, I'll show you the pre-made layout. This is really powerful. You can open it up. As long as you have logged in, you've got these 199 layout packs now. Let's say, let's limit it to art and design here. Now out of art and design, now we've got 35 of them. Let's say we really like, start with this one, and if we were making an about page, maybe we would choose about out of this, and we could just go ahead and replace the existing content, choose use this layout, and then be patient for a moment while it loads it. That will give you an awesome starting place for a about page if you don't want to do it from scratch. Check. Let it load. And now all of a sudden we have this about page. And what I showed you is that it is awesome that between the section and then the row and then the actual module, there's a lot of cool things going on here. And you can check out the tablet view and the mobile view, see what our little thing looks like, all this good stuff. You can even set the exact device up here, which is really cool. If you want to see what it looks like at an iPhone 10 exactly, and shows you the dimensions of it. We can look at it landscape, portrait, a lot of cool little options with this. Also a lot of those options built into the Chrome browser. I'll show you at some point. Then the big one over here is clicking on this little character, which shows you kind of the skeleton around it. It's a lot easier to visualize the layout as you start building. We've got our header section, our about section, different rows, and the different elements within them. So going back and forth between this view and that other page view is very, very powerful. So right now, with that, oops, go back off of it, zoom around, that's great. I am actually going to delete all this stuff and go back to the beginning. So even if I started with one, it's very common to start with a pre-made look and then really start paring it down. But I can very quickly just delete the sections and poof, I'm back to a completely blank page. So it always has to start with a section. A section is just kind of an arbitrary place. And then you always start with a new row and telling it how many columns you want the row to have. So again, if we wanted just one major one across here, let's say we had some text, and we'll say, welcome to my about page. Sweet. No options. What? I don't mean to be searching for that. To be actually typing it into the text. Here we go. Welcome to my about page. Look at the thing. And there it is. Hooray. And I'm going to publish this because really I want to show you is that as soon as we created a page and publish it, I should have added it to the nav bar. Whoa, I guess we didn't give it a title. It says number 11, no title. Be aware of that. So let me go back to the dashboard. Oh, log this out. Okay. Thanks, WordPress. There we go. Logged back in. Go to our pages. And right here, it looks like the one with no title. We're actually going to quick edit. And I can say, just call it about. Hit update. And now when I refresh the page, you can see that with our menu set up, now we can get to home and about. And it actually sets it up on the menu like this. Okay. So sticking with menus, let's go back to appearance menus. I'm showing you a few things of this. Now, another thing that's cool about the menu is, yeah, it will show you all of the pages that you have here. So view all, you can see both of my pages. You can search for pages. You can look at the most recent ones, all that good stuff. I could also look for different posts if I want to put a specific blog post in my menu. One thing that's really cool is I could link out to just something random from my menu if I wanted. You could even link to something within your own site, but typically this is used for linking to something outside in the world. So if I wanted to just link to, we'll just be boring and say, well, we'll say happycat.com. I have no idea what's at happycat.com, so brace yourselves. Who knows what the internet will give us. So that's what the URL is, and then the link text, I'm going to say happy cat, add to menu, and then say, now just because I added to menu, if I go over here and refresh, it's not there yet because I haven't actually saved the menu. I still have to save it. Right now, once I've saved it, now I can refresh. Now I see Happy Cat in the menu, and we'll click Happy Cat. and it's warning us because I didn't put HTTPS in there. We'll see what happycat.com is. Oh, look at that. Cathealth.com is where it goes to. Could have been much worse. Oops, I closed it. That's actually a good point, is when we link out to a different website, you almost always want it to open in a new tab. See, that stayed in the same tab, and now I'm just not on the website anymore. I can't get back using the back arrow. So let me show you how to do that in the menu. There is a little like hidden area, really, I think, up here in screen options on the menu thing. You click on screen options, it opens up, and it gives you some different things to show on the menu choices, right? So pages, posts, it doesn't have projects checked, but if you set up projects through Divi, you can link to those specifically. You don't really need to, which is why they're unchecked. But these are just other content types. That's just a general term in WordPress, is a content type that out of the box, it comes with posts and pages. But then as you can see, Divi adds what are called projects. Other, like when later on I'll show you, we'll install a plugin to create forms, like contact forms, and that'll create a different content type called the contact form. Different plugins will create different content types. When we do e-commerce, we'll get product content types with all kinds of information. There's even plugins to allow you to create your own content type. So there's just different content types that will be displayed throughout the site in different ways. And this kind of hidden little screen options will let you either include or exclude all these different types of content, even tags and categories within content types in kind of your menu options. But the other big thing down here is link target. All right, this one, I feel like this should be by default on, but it's not. So when I turn on link target, I don't need to click anything else. I just open up screen options, turn on link target. And now when I look at any of my links, I now have this option here that wasn't there before that says open link in a new tab. Okay, so now if I check that, and remember I still have to save my menu. Now I click over to the tab with it on the front end, I refresh, and now when I click Happy Cat, it actually opens a new tab and I can go back to the website. All right, so if you're doing any external links, usually a good idea to turn on the link target box and then actually set it to open a link for the new tab. So as you create pages, you can get them to automatically just add to the menu, or you can create menu items individually, manually. And like I said, like I could put the URL of this current website and then to a specific page slug I made and link to it manually instead of picking it from the list. You have a lot of options here. And then these move up and down. That just, you can remove links, but you can easily just kind of drag them around. So I just change the order, save menu, refresh. And now it is home, then Happy Cat, then about, all right? And then another thing we can do is create hierarchies of menus. So let's say you have like a work section, you've got different types of work under it. Let's go ahead and make a new custom link. Maybe this one I'll call happydog.com. We'll go to Happy Dog and add it to the menu. So by default, Happy Dog will just sit here on the outside, right? But what's really cool is not only can we drag the kind of order of them, but you can actually drag the hierarchy. So I can now indent Happy Dog underneath Happy Cat. And if I save the menu, go over here and refresh it, we can see that now Happy Cat has a little caret character, a little arrow, and when I roll over it, it shows Happy Dog underneath it. In fact, and each one is a link, so I could click Happy Cat, and that jumps me out here. And then if I were to click Happy Dog, I don't think I checked that mark to make it a new tab, so this will stick within the tab. I can click Happy Dog, and apparently happydog.com does not exist. Well, man, if anyone wants to go buy happydog.com, feels like some prime real estate there. Okay, And what I would probably do though is I would make a dummy link that has both of these under it. All right, so let me show you how I would make a dummy link. A dummy link would basically be a link that's there that you click on, it doesn't go anywhere, but it can be used to group things. So I'll make a custom link, and for the URL, whenever I'm using a dummy link, I want to put a hashtag or the pound sign before it was called a hashtag. That will just mean don't link anywhere. It puts something in the link field rather than just leaving it blank, which is kind of what HTML wants, but it allows you to just have a dummy link. So maybe I'll call this Happy Pets, add it to my menu, and then maybe I'll stick Happy Cat and Happy Dog under Happy Pets, save the menu, refresh it. And now I've got Happy Pets, and I've got Happy Dog and Happy Cat under Happy Pets, and if I click on Happy Pets, it doesn't really do anything. All right, I could also search. It's kind of built into Divi, have a little search box built up there, which is pretty cool. It's got the logo built in. That is the initial menu. It's pretty easy just to add pages, add your own links, make hierarchies of things, and then if we were to look at this, scale my browser down a little bit until it hits the hamburger menu view. You can click that, and you can see that the hamburger menu, the way it works is it just kind of shows that hierarchy already exploded out, but that's that primary menu is all the same thing. So let me show you real quickly. Let's set up other two menus. And now I've got this initial menu. I'll go ahead and delete the happy stuff, and we'll just leave the home and about for right now. As part of building out your home page, you're going to need to figure out what your menu structure is going to be and where it's going to live. So let's create a menu for these other two locations. We got the secondary menu and the footer menu. We'll start with the footer menu. We can just create a new menu here. Just manage locations. Oh, okay. It just kind of lets me choose from there. It's kind of the same thing. It's weird that it's a different tab. Ooh, these are back because I didn't save it. You can see how that can be funky. Be sure whenever you make changes or edits to your menu, you always click Save Menu, or they won't take. All right, so now I'm going to add a new menu, not add to menu, create a new menu. And this one, I will call it Footer Menu. And I will tell it to be in the footer menu, and I do not want to automatically add new top level pages. I'm just going to create the menu. And now that I've created it, let's see, right now in our footer, we've actually got some widgets in there. I'll have to explain widgets after our break as well. Let's see where the footer menu comes up if we add something. All right, so let's say we want to add our about page to our footer menu. We'll add it, save our menu. Let's see where this shows up, if it even shows up right now. Ah, yep, down here. So until I typed something in there, there was nothing there, and now it adds a little bottom bar menu down here. So I can click this, get to the about page, and I can put the home page there if I wanted. So there's our little footer menu. And then whether or not you want a footer menu. And then let's also add a secondary menu and see where that shows up. This is something I do a lot with any new theme, because you won't always be sure exactly where the menu system is. So if you kind of create a menu for each display location the theme allows, you can kind of see where they are. I believe the secondary menu is a strip across the top, and I believe we might have to turn it on in a different place to see it. But we're going to try it real quickly. So I'll go back to create a new menu again. And this time, I will name it Secondary Menu. We'll tell it to go in the secondary menu location. And we'll also add about just to see what happens. Let's see if menu shows up. Aha! Created a new little line across the top with another menu item up here. So this is a little overkill when we have no content on our page, on our site basically. But now we have three separate areas. We've got the main one here. And then we've got a footer area way down here, and we've got a secondary area way up here that we could individually put different links to different things in all three of those spots kind of right out of the box with Divi. We also have, as one final menu thing, I believe, add a menu inside of an actual Divi page. Right, so I'm going to leave all three of these menus there for now. But if I go to pages and let's go into my home page, edit it. I should have just clicked edit with Divi, because now I have to close this and then click use Divi Builder. And then click this, finally. So skip that, make it so you don't click things 3 or 4 times and just click edit with Divi Builder, and it'll take you right to the editable Divi page. We're going to use the existing content and start building. Great, which automatically just gave us, if I look at our little thing here, it automatically just gave us a section, a row with 1 column and some text in it. It's kind of what it does by default if we tell it to just convert the existing content to something that was built with the traditional WordPress block editor, like the page that comes with it. But I believe if I were to want to like add a new row, sure, I believe there is a menu. Yeah, so there's a menu option in Divi. So then I could choose main menu, footer, secondary menu. Let's go ahead and put the main menu there again. And you can see that it just adds the menu. So if I were to save this page, let it save, and then go look at it. And here it is, because that's where I put it on the page. I could have put it up here. I could have put it in a different column on the side or something like that. So right out of the box, you have 3 separate kind of built-in theme areas: the main menu, the primary menu area, the secondary menu area above it, and then the footer area down here. I'll explain after break a little bit about these different areas and how you can change them around. Or you can actually put the menu anywhere you want within the content area. So that gives you plenty of options to kind of play with where you're going to have the links all about on your site. I'll also show you how you can take this primary menu, and Divi comes out of the box with different ways to put it on the side and center it, and I'll show you a little bit about that as well. So we went through menus, and you can see that the 3 built-in places, and then you can put it in the content itself. All right, I'm going to pull out the secondary menu, I'm going to pull out the footer menu, and I'm even going to pull out this kind of content menu that I made. All right, so I'm going to go in here and I'll just delete that module and delete this row to get rid of the content menu. There's that little thing spinning. Why can't it want to just let me save it? There we go. Okay, I guess it's saved automatically. I'll click it again anyway, just to be safe. There we go. Okay. And now I'm going to go back to my dashboard. Actually, I'm just going to click menus. And I'm just going to delete those other 2 menus that we made. So I can, right now I'm on the secondary menu. Once I've created them, I can delete them just as easily. So I can delete my whole secondary menu. Poof. And I also want to delete my whole footer menu. Poof. Now I go back. That nice little blue strip is gone. Menu here is gone. Menu here is gone. And now we just have the initial, oops, clicked about. So I have the initial primary menu that breaks down into the hamburger. So now let me explain widgets. That's what this archive, categories, and meta thing is down here as part of this other footer area. Usually, any given theme, Divi is no exception, it will have different what are called regions of the theme, okay? And right now, Divi has what's called a header region that's up here with the logo and this. And that doesn't get changed by the actual content of a page, right? The header region is on its own. And then we have the content area, which is currently what's here, and that's what you can change in the Divi Builder. And then we've got footer regions, right? And there is ways to kind of replace these regions with Divi stuff. I'll show you that in a minute. But usually in any given theme, typically the header, the footer, maybe sometimes a sidebar, there's usually regions that just kind of aren't editable. They just are there and programmed in as part of the theme. But then the content area is what's the editable area within blog posts or pages or any content type for that matter. And Divi's no exception, that when we start out, like whatever you change in the content area doesn't, you don't have the ability to edit the header or the footer. You just have the ability to edit this content area within any given page. So obviously between our home page and an about page, the rest of this stuff, the header and this footer stuff, are all kind of static and always there. So I'm going to show you how to play with these widgets. That's another major part of WordPress. And then for Divi specifically, I want to show you how to actually how and where to edit these footers and headers and change things around that aren't, initially part of the whole Divi Builder content area thing. So first off, let's talk about widgets. So as we've gone through, WordPress comes out of the box with posts and pages as far as the content types. Divi adds projects, I believe. I've showed you how to add plugins and themes, showed you the menus. All right, but if we click on widgets, widgets are something that have been around in WordPress forever, and they represent, I guess, what would be considered to be little dynamic content areas. Okay, so this is the widget screen, and this has nothing to do with Divi. Divi just has a specific spot that it shows its widgets. All themes will be exposed to widgets and have widget areas in some way. So what you can see here is that there are sidebar widgets, or there's a sidebar area, and then there are footer areas. If I open them up, okay, I can see that there's stuff in the sidebar area. There's nothing in footer area 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, but there is stuff in footer area 1. So to show you this, I'm actually going to add a sidebar to one of these pages because you can see what's in the footer area here, but we can't really see the sidebar. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to edit this about page. And the sidebar is something that typically will come with like a default WordPress page layout, but you can add a sidebar to a Divi layout. So I'm actually going to edit the number of columns and change this to be maybe 2 columns, but have this 2/3 on the left side and a smaller on the right side. All right, so now I've got this kind of layout. So I've got my text over here, and over here with this module, I'm going to add the sidebar. And you can see that it's letting me choose right away in the Divi settings as it jumps up. It's letting me choose which widget area. So I can choose all these different widget areas. We're going to leave it on sidebar. Hit OK. I'm just going to go ahead and save this page. Click the little purple dots, explode it out, hit save. Okay, now I'm looking at it, and I can see that it's showing me recent posts, recent comments, and it's got a search box. I go back and look at my widgets, and sure enough, a search box, recent posts, recent comments, and then looking at the footer area 1, archives, categories, meta. Now, all of this stuff so far, because again, WordPress is kind of a blog software out of the box. All of these widgets are representative of different kind of dynamic areas that would be related to a blog. Okay, so I'll show you what I mean by dynamic is they can change based on content changing without you actually doing anything. So for example, recent post, right now it's showing hello world. Well, let's go back in here and let's go into posts. Let's make a new post. So if I were working on a blog, I would add a new blog post, click add new. And sure, we could use Divi or we could use the default editor. Let's use the default editor for now. And we'll just call this my first post. We will publish it with nothing in it but a title. Are you ready to publish? Yes, I'm ready to publish. Okay, and now that I've published my post, if I hit refresh, now it doesn't show up in the menu or anything. But as it loads the page and shows me the sidebar, you can see that this recent posts thing now shows me the actual, here I'm going to exit the visual builder so you can see the page as is without the little Divi things flying all over the place. There we go. And now you can see that it automatically added a link there under recent post because it's my most recent one. So I could click it from here and poof, I see my blog post, have my comment area, all this stuff. But the moral is that this widget is a dynamic widget in that without me actually ever adding anything to it, kind of in the same way that we said we want all the primary links to add automatically to our main menu bar, this will automatically show me all of the most recent blog posts. And then this will also show me all of the most recent comments on my posts. It also gives me a search bar to search through things. And then down here, I can see the different archives and categories of posts. So right now it's uncategorized. I could go, let's go back to the thing here. I can look at categories under posts, and instead of just the one category named uncategorized, maybe I will quick edit this and I will name it good posts. Maybe I'll slug it good posts, update my category. Maybe I'll make a new category over here and I'll call it bad posts. Slug. Well, the slug will automatically get created if you leave nothing there. So I'm just going to leave nothing there. Not giving it a category. You could nest these things, get all crazy, put a description. But I'm just going to add a new one so that if I were looking at my blog, now all of a sudden I can see good posts, and I must not have saved that or something. I'm not sure why bad posts isn't showing up. But you see my meaning is as I would continue to create blog posts as time went on, these kind of dynamic widgets would fill out with information that typically, whether it's in the footer or in a sidebar, you might have on your site. Now, from there, let me go back to the widgets area, just under appearance, widgets. So we went through the themes. We will go through the customizer a little bit more. Went through menus, background, and theme editor, kind of just take you into customize. With the widgets, where we see that Divi comes with sidebar and footer areas with all these widgets, and there's a whole bunch of other widgets we could play with. Now, one thing is we could just, like, if I want to see where all these areas are, I can literally just drag these boxes around to different areas. So I'll completely clear out the sidebar, and we're going to fill in one thing in each footer area so we can see what it actually looks like. In fact, we'll throw something in the sidebar too. Let's throw a video. We'll throw a video in our sidebar. All right, and we'll call it, of course, Baby Monkey. We'll add a video. Okay, well, we'll just leave it empty. Oops. Back to widgets. See what an empty video with nothing added there does. But again, if I open these widget areas, I can see I added just one widget to each area. So if I refresh the page, I can see how that's laid out. Okay, so let's see. I have 6 areas: archives, categories, and meta. Archives, categories, and meta. That's these 3 footer areas across here. And then I get to the search, and then recent posts and recent. I don't see where that is. I honestly don't know why that's not showing up or where those footer areas are. In fact, maybe footer area 5 and footer area 6 are just not a thing in Divi and they don't show up. But you could see that by adding, so here, if I move these to footer area 4 instead, there's nothing I have to click save on. It kind of automatically does it. I refresh. Now it's going to add them to here. So by default, Divi has this 4-column footer area where you could add all kinds of information to your footer there. I see the video is not showing up. I'm just going to hit delete. But with any of these, like for example, recent posts, you can open them up, and most of them will have some kind of properties you can change. So maybe instead of recent posts, my first post in Hello World, instead of having it called recent posts, I could have it be called super awesome posts. And then maybe instead of 5 of them, I only want to show 3 of them. And I could even display the post date if I want. So each widget will have various options you could kind of play with. So now that my widget is called super awesome post, and it shows the date that they were posted. So as we look through here, let's add a calendar to our sidebar. And easy enough, we just threw a calendar on there, and now we refresh it, And here is now a calendar sitting on the sidebar thing. So WordPress will come with a certain amount of widgets. If we just want to add an image or an entire gallery of images, you can go around and play with, we just simple text, easy enough widget. And you can always just drag them. So if I had an image, I'll drag it over here. I want to add an image to my thing. I would click add image. I would have to go find it. Great, let's select the file. And I still have my Ms. Mia Wallace picture here. Just gonna add it. Add to the widget. Save the widget. I could even link it to something if I wanted, because that comes within the image widget. And now, poof, I can see that's over in my sidebar. All right, now this sidebar is only added to this one Divi page. You could add the same sidebar to multiple pages and have it stay there if you wanted consistently. But Divi gives you that ability to kind of add that dynamic widget area to any page that you want. All right, very cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete that and then go back into the media library. Looks like it came with a few different things. That's probably because of that one home page I created. Go ahead and delete. That's just another kind of built-in, besides the content types, posts and pages, and then whatever else gets created along the way. Widgets are just kind of another out-of-the-box area of WordPress that, depending on different plugins and things you have installed, different types of widgets may come over here. Like, I don't know what this ET stuff is. Advertisement, AdSense. Some of this probably is there because it's on GoDaddy. If we were to install, or when we install some e-commerce, we'll get some different e-commerce widgets. So I don't use widgets a lot. There are certain situations, especially like if you are running a blog, which I'll talk more about in time, having some of these kind of blog-centric ones make a lot of sense. So that is the widget areas and about widgets. Refresh this, get it back to, okay, we've got all this stuff. So let's say I want to get things as simple as possible. In fact, let's edit this page, this about page, and let's pull in an existing design. And I want to show you that this really just updates the content area. And then I'll show you how we can control the rest of the stuff that doesn't get controlled by any of this. So if I open this up, I can add from a pre-made layout. We'll choose the Yoga Studio. We'll choose the About page. We do want it to replace our existing content. I'll give it a moment to load in all of the images and stuff. Sweet, we're in. We've made the Yoga Studio page. I'm gonna hit save. And then I'm going to exit the visual builder so I can see the page without all the Divi stuff. All right, so it made this beautiful Yoga Studio page, but notice it still has basically, so it doesn't have a sidebar or any other widget areas, but it basically has the header, which did not change at all, that just has our menu and our search and then a logo. And as you scroll down, the header kind of changes size, and it's a sticky header, meaning it stays there the whole time like that by default. And then it also has this footer stuff in the bottom with all these widgets, and then the designed by Elegant Themes, powered by WordPress, all the little social icons down here. Well, this is the next part I want to explain, is that these different areas, the header area and the footer area, just kind of work a little bit differently than the content area, in that just by default, without kind of knowing where to go or what to do, you can't just go into the Divi editor and just start changing things and dragging things around. They're kind of programmed in their own way. And most themes are this way, that most themes will have certain areas that are just programmed how they are, and that's part of what building the theme is. And then there's a certain area of content that you're allowed to change. Now, a builder theme like Divi gives you a whole huge content area and lets you change it in awesome ways, but it's still really important to understand how to kind of get it so you're controlling everything. So let's start with the bottom here. In a nutshell, I'd kind of like to get rid of this. I know there's 4 main areas here of the footer widget area. So I'm curious, if I delete each one of these widgets, if this whole widget area just goes away in the same way that when I deleted the footer menu, that little new bar it created for the footer menu went away. So I'm going to go in and let's just delete all of these widgets, which all it does, I mean, they still exist over here, so you could really just grab them and add them again at any time. And then these three. Okay, so I've deleted every widget from all of the widget areas. They're all empty now. Now let's see what happens. We refresh. Awesome. Okay, that made it go away. So just by getting rid of widgets in those footer areas, we can make that whole footer area go away. All right, so now I'm just dealing with the header and then the footer down here. Okay, so both of these have places like in the customizer to be able to edit them. And I'm going to show you that first, and then I'm going to show you a way where you can actually completely replace them and take full control over your page and use the Divi builder to kind of work on everything, not just the content area. We can actually replace the footer area and the header area with Divi areas instead, which is really cool. But we're going to start by, we're going to leave our About Our Studio page here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into the customizer. I showed you this briefly, that each theme has its own customizer, and we can have, all right, I'm going to click on About. You can see this big, beautiful page. Actually, I'm going to leave it on Home, just because the content in here is a little smaller. It's easier to see what's going on in the header and the footer. No, interestingly enough, that is still there. Does that show up on the home page, or is that just there in the customizer? It's just there in the customizer. You can see, though, that if I don't have enough content to push this down, it's just white underneath. Let's see on the About page, does it show up in the customizer? So you can see how that extra little gray area, yeah, it does. That's really odd. So case in point, don't ever trust the customizer 1000% to look exactly like it's going to look. You actually have an area here that's showing up wanting widgets that in the customizer is there, but when we look at live site, it doesn't show up in that area. So we remove them all. All right, so let me start by showing you some of the settings about the header up here. Ultimately, I want all of you just to spend time going through all of these customization settings so you can play with them and get a feel for what you can change out of the box and what you can't. So under general settings, I'm just going to click through some things really quickly. Site identity, sure, we can change our name and tagline. Here we could even change the site icon. It's telling us exactly what 512 by 512. Now the icon is not the logo. The icon is going to be this tiny little favicon that happens in the tab and will like show up on your iPhone screen if you save it to your home page, or there's different areas where an icon shows up. So you can add a little 512 by 512 icon there if you want. Layout settings. Okay, this is where you can get really funky really quickly, changing just some basic kind of presets that Divi comes with. So one thing is you could enable a boxed layout. So instead of it going all the way across, you can decide to have it just kind of limited within a specific width. And if you do that, you can then choose how wide or narrow you want it to be. Right? So that's pretty fun. Started at 1080, doesn't really matter. And then you can also play with the gutter width, which isn't showing up as much now, but if we had, maybe it would show up more on the About. That this kind of controls how wide the space in between rows and columns and things are. Yeah, there we are. So it's subtle, but you can see changes ever so slightly. But the difference between going all the way across versus enabling it, you know, like if I go over here, actually hit publish after I make changes in the customizer, go over here, refresh it, I can see, sure enough, now I'm limited to have these nice little drop shadow and white stuff on the side. So I changed it like that. I'm gonna go back, I'll take it off the boxed layout for now. Changing your font. Instead of just choosing the default font for headers and body, you can choose overall fonts and colors that would kind of, and sizes and everything that will apply to the entire site. You can still change fonts and titles and everything on individual text boxes. It's just a powerful thing to be able to make one setting and have everything kind of default that way before you start playing with things individually. Changing your background, sure. You can make a different background color. Like I think if we change the layout settings to box layout, yeah, now you can see this awesome green background color behind us. Maybe I would pick a color, make it that blue or this green, whatever, close enough. All right, so play with that type of stuff. Go back here. All right, header and navigation. I should set this back to not box layout. I'll set the background color back to white. Oops. Set a background image just as easy. Set that back to white so it doesn't look so funky. Now the header and navigation is a big one. There's a lot of different options. So the header style by default is just like this, but we can change it to be centered. So now all of a sudden it's just going to center the logo and the links are going to go across like this. We're going to have centered with an inline logo. It's going to sit in the middle of them. Slide in, which means that even at the desktop view, you've got a hamburger menu. And you have to click it, and then it's going to slide over and show you your menu like that. Or we can do full screen, which is the same kind of thing, where it's just got the hamburger menu, even at the desktop size. When you click it, it takes over the whole screen and fades in with your menu and your search box. So these are more like mobile-first tablet style looks, but you can very easily kind of change these around. You can enable vertical navigation, which just puts it on the side over here. And then even within that, you can still do the whole centered and slide in and all that stuff instead, and just have it on, not sure how to close that. Anyway, just have it on the side and put it on the left or the right. So top, left, right, centered, not centered, just gives you some nice basics of how you want to lay out your main menu like that. Take it off, enable vertical, and that hide navigation until scroll. That's kind of a cool one, that it's just kind of ghost navigation until you actually start scrolling and then it shows up. Different options there to play with. Primary menu bar. This is where you can tell it to be full width instead of stay within the content area. And then this is a big deal of being able to say how big you're going to allow it, how big you're going to allow your logo to be. So text size, colors, background colors, lots of things to determine exactly what your menu looks like. Then primary menu bar. And then secondary menu bar, this is the one that's not showing up right now. That's the one that put that little blue strip when we created our menu, but you could control the colors and everything that kind of goes along with the secondary menu bar. Some fixed navigation settings, whether you want to hide your image or not, or hide your logo when this thing goes away, and just lots of things to play with, right? Header elements, show social icons. Poof, and all of a sudden I've got social icons in my header. Whether or not I want to show the search, make that come or go, add a phone number or email. I think that automatically shows up in the secondary menu. If I add phone number, email, I think the secondary menu strip will automatically put a little phone and a little email thing next to them and put them up there if you wanted it in that top strip. So between general settings, header, navigation, there's a lot to kind of like, okay, what can I play with out of the box with the header? What do I want it to look like? All that kind of stuff. Somewhere in there is where you can change out the logo. Footer, just the layout. Okay, so I can change the column layout of the footer from within this, and probably the widget areas. Play with all kinds of stuff. This is actually kind of a hidden spot that right now, so if I look at this live, basically how would I change this or how would I get rid of this? In the footer down here, under footer, now layout, this doesn't let me get rid of it. Widgets, footer elements. Okay, I can make the social icons go away, just like that if I wanted. Bottom bar, I'll come back to the bottom bar. The footer menu, yeah. The bottom bar, this is where we can actually edit what's in here. Now, By default, if we put nothing in footer credits, it says designed by Elegant Themes, powered by WordPress. But instead, I want, this is my footer. And then that's what it'll make it say down here in the footer. Okay, and then you can play around with the size of the social icons, the font size, different colors, background color of the footer, all these different things you can mess with. If I put the social icons back in, see them, very exciting. So I'll kind of, the rest of this, blog button, mobile styles, color schemes, menu, widgets, homepage settings, additional CSS. I'll show you this at some point where we can actually code in here and make some changes. But the rest of this stuff, now that you kind of understand what the different elements are, widgets, menus, even specifically on the homepage, some of this stuff is repeated from what we got to in other settings areas, like saying exactly what page is the homepage. You know, you can go around and play with this stuff a little bit. There is quite a bit you can change. Here, I'll go ahead and hit publish. So my pared down version is what it stays at. And the last thing I'm going to show you real quick, and I'll give you time to work, is what if I actually want to just do my own thing? So you can see that, sure, you can control a bunch of stuff about the menu and the header. You can control a bunch of stuff, colors, sizes about the footer, but they're still just there. Like, what if I want them to go away? Before I show you that, there is a little secret area. Most themes now put all of their customization inside of the customizer. Whatever the theme will let you customize, it puts it in there. So for example, with Divi, it gives you certain things you can do with the header and the footer, but you're still working within kind of the way it has it programmed. And the content area is kind of a free-for-all in the middle. If you click on the word Divi, this is before the content area existed. This was another place where you can set certain options for Divi. So you should also kind of look here. So for example, here's where you need to set the logo. It's just not in the customizer. So you really have to look at both of these areas. There's a lot here, but as you look through it, a lot of it's self-explanatory. Let's see, enable the Divi gallery. All right, different sidebar layouts. Here's where you can actually disable the social icons, and you can enable certain ones, and here's where you would actually put the links to the social links. So this is all what's controlling in the footer. Just lots of little things that you want to enable or disable. Same with navigation, whether you want to show the home page links, just some stuff you can kind of look through. And even within these tabs, there's even sub-tabs. So there's a lot to go through with customizing. And one of the first things to do with any theme as you're getting comfortable with it is just to thumb through and play with all the customizations so you can understand, without having to do something custom or get under the hood and use CSS, just what you can and cannot change. We'll talk more about some of these things, but most of it we either won't touch, like ads or integration, or it'll just be self-explanatory. So let's see. The last thing I want to show you is how to actually replace the header and the footer. And let me see here. Is that the theme builder? It's kind of a new thing. Yes. Okay. So this is kind of a hidden new thing in Divi. It's new. Everything's new as I'm teaching it to you, but as of about a year ago, they added this because enough people were like, okay, I don't want to use your stupid default footer. I don't want to use your stupid default header. Even though you let me customize it to a certain degree, I want full-on Divi control over my header and my footer, just like I have for my whole content area, right? Now, before this new little area, in order to do this, we had to actually use CSS and get under the hood and write code to change things about the header and the footer, even if we just wanted to make them go away. But now we have this under Divi theme builder. All right, so theme options takes you to this original theme options kind of tab area I showed you. Theme customizer takes you right to the customizer. We don't need to worry about the role editor. The library is what you get to when you're inside of the page. But the theme builder, this allows you to actually create global areas. All right, so you can see add a global header, a global footer, even a global body. What this will do is allow you to use Divi to create things that will show up on every page, not just individual pages and their content areas or individual posts or any other different type of individual content type. So if I were to add a global header, instead of from the library, I want to build my global header. And maybe in my global header, okay, I'm going to build it from scratch. And maybe I'll have 3 columns in my header. And over here in this column, I will have some text. It says, hello. In the middle column, maybe this is where I want to put my actual menu. Since I'm building my own header and I'm going to want a menu somewhere, I'll make it my main menu. Sure, as my main menu. And then maybe over here on the right, maybe I want to put a, I guess we'll just put something that makes sense, like an image. Sure. Here's the image. All right, throw an image in here. And we'll just leave it that default placeholder image. But I believe once I hit save, I can X out of this edit global header. So now I've got this global header here